Montreal Mayor Valerie Plante joining us, talk about something she is asking the provincial government, whoever that provincial government turns out to be come October the 4th.
Gee, I wonder who it'll be.
I can't imagine who it will be, but the Montreal Mayor, Valerie Plante, is on the line with us right now. Thanks so much, Madam Mayor.
Nice to be with you again.
Hello.
So, yeah, it's fun. A couple of times in 2 weeks. This time,
I know.
yeah, this time for something different. So let's kind of begin by asking what specifically you're asking for, because then I want to know, 4 years ago when you were mayor, that same list seems to go out. How much of what you asked for then was actually fulfilled that you're confident you'll get something now?
That's very interesting because you're right. I mean, I've been in office for 4 years, same thing for them. And I think we have moved forward on many files. That being said, it is why I really wanted to push forward the entire fiscal equity forward, because though we are moving on so many things, for example, money has been injected for housing or for the urban security, it's always piece by piece. And I'm kind of tired of asking for money, constantly based on what's happening. And so I'm asking, my first request is really for the government to share some of the surplus. And, the minister has shared how much surplus they have. It's more than $4 billion. So how about they share some of that with Montreal, who is dealing with much more responsibilities like fighting climate change, the increase of gun violence, homelessness, so all these things. I'm definitely looking forward to have more financial support. And also what I'm asking is something that other cities are asking, because we're all dealing with the pressure of depending on property taxes in cities.
So I asked you as part of this question, when you asked for money 4 years ago, how much of that came through specifically that you can say, yes, they gave it?
Right. I mean, I wish I could answer by details with specific amounts, but as you can imagine, there's, it's often money that comes from Canada, that's from the federal, that transfers to Quebec, and then there's pieces, and some of that is shared. So, and some of it is from the budget, some other is from the investment program. So really, it's not because I don't want to answer, but it's very difficult for me to do so.
I'm curious. So you mentioned the $4 billion surplus that the provincial government has. How is the city, how's the Ville de Montréal doing? Are we working with a surplus or a deficit?
The city of Montreal, well, we've had a surplus ourselves.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. We make a surplus every year, mostly. It's always what happens. We've been very cautious in our budget, so we didn't expect necessarily to have that many surplus, but we did. At the same time, our debts have increased as well, because we've been injecting a lot of money into the economy, especially coming out of the COVID. But I guess what I'm not asking Quebec to cover everything, because property tax does its job, but it's important to keep in mind that the other levels of government, their revenue comes from the TVQ and TPS. And as there's inflation and as the economy is growing, they're getting revenues, and they don't have to affect citizens' wallets. Where for me as a city, I'm depending on property tax, and this is where it hurts, because I want to respect Montrealers' financial capacity. So how about they share some of that money based on the responsibilities that we now have and that we take, because we're responsible. We want to make sure our city is safe and growing, but I do need some of that financial capacity that now they do have.
So you brought up, and I know this is a thorn in the side for plenty of governments up until now, the idea that Montreal gets so much of its money from those property taxes, and that just seems unfair. Arif Salem, who's the leader of the opposition at City Hall, was on, I think, with David Hertel a little earlier today. He said this, and I want you to give me your reaction to this, Mayor.
Toronto, 39% of the revenues is coming from homeowners' taxes. Can we take a look and see why is this, and how can we work in Montreal to have the same thing that Toronto has? When
we are getting how much from ours? Roughly 70%?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm so glad that the opposition leader is saying that based on the fact that they were at the head of the city for a while, and it's definitely not something they decided to move forward. And I agree. I agree that we need to diversify our sources of revenue, and some of that should be linked to the responsibilities we have in Quebec, connected to Quebec, And as we're doing that, there's a big chantier on the fiscality of municipalities that our administration is pushing forward, because there are ways to get different types of revenues. And this is where I'm interested in. But I also want Quebec to pay, their bills. That's what I want.
Is your frustration, I mean, we were speaking to James Benny, one of our contributors here earlier, and he was saying that basically the province of Quebec treats Montreal like a guichet automatique. Like, we provide so much money to the province and we aren't reaping the benefits. So should Montreal have some sort of special status with regards to this, with how much we contribute and how much we're able to get back?
Right. We already have a special status, but to me it has to be upgraded, to be reviewed. And this is exactly what I'm asking at this point, is to have kind of an agreement right away how to support Montreal, because supporting Montreal is supporting Quebec. This is where, the economic, the growth starts from Montreal in the big Montreal area. And the growth into Quebec's, pockets comes a lot also from the big Montreal area, because most of the population is here. And so we pay a lot of taxes and TVQ and TPS, which is great. But it has to come back also in Montrealers' wallet based on the many responsibilities that we are facing and that we are dealing with, and we want to do it right.
I think in Toronto, Doug Ford's gone out of his way to give municipal mayors there more power. He's made that, I think, part of his, I guess now that he's the premier again, part of his campaign. The only problem, I guess, Mayor, that I guess people look at is that Montreal, as big as it is, and yes, it's the financial engine of the province, the party in power looks at the island and goes, yeah, we only have 2-3 seats here. It's really not that important. Why should we give them anything? So you're always behind the 8 ball that way.
So just to be clear, you mean like because of the size of the municipal apparel?
No, because the CAQ says, we look at the island of Montreal, they have only 3 seats here, right?
We don't vote for
So
them.
why should we spend anything, give Montreal anything, when it's the voters and the rest of the province?
Right. Well, I mean, there's an election, so we'll see what Montrealers decide to vote for. But to me, I mean, again, it's a fact that we are the economical, engine in Quebec. And so I just find it is the proper time to send a very strong message to all the parties. We know our plan. We know where we're going. Montreal's have, shared the vision of ecological transition. And I've been a safe city, fighting the housing crisis. So we need to take this opportunity, which is the election, to send a strong message that this is what we want. And actually, this is what we deserve, for all the reasons that we've said. So I'm definitely counting on Montrealers to bring those ideas forward. It is a crucial election for me.
Crucial in what sense? In the sense that you're hoping to get that much more, or hoping to get some?
Oh, to get more. But I guess, we just went through a sanitary crisis. Now we're dealing with a housing crisis. And there's also, the ecological crisis. Mm-hmm. It is time to make big decisions. So I'm hoping, and what I want, and I'm going to push as much as I can as mayor of the metropolis, but also leading on many of those causes and those files, that the next government needs to be a strong ally to the metropolis, because we have many of the solutions. And just to fight climate change, to give you an idea, if Quebec wants to reach their goals and their objectives in reducing emissions, they need Montreal. So we want to be strong allies, and we need to have that message. I want to hear it.
But if the next government is going to be the same government, why would you expect anything to be different?
Well, again, I mean, an election, everything can happen. I do believe that anything can happen. And hear me well, it's just, is it like some ideas that are going across in a different way because the population has been pushing an issue? That can happen. I believe it.
Okay.
So we need to be all together and pushing those issues that I know people are thinking about and, want to cover. And my job is to make sure that the government shares the treasure, that we've built in terms of financial capacity, to make sure that Montreal grows and stays strong and thrives. That's my objective.
Well, let's hope the provincial government, because it's likely the CAQ will win again, is listening and actually does something about it, as opposed to just, having this fall on deaf ears. Mayor, we have to let you go because we're running out of time. I just wanted to point out one thing we talked about earlier, and I know your office issued a statement. There was an incident in LaSalle at the end of last week, a hate-filled incident. We've not heard the Premier, at least I have not heard the Premier speak to this, but I just wanted you to express your opinion on what happened.
Oh, I mean, it is not okay. It is not acceptable. Montreal will not tolerate that type of violence because it is. And so right now there is an inquiry. It's been taken by the SPVM, but it is not acceptable. So, and we will fight that, like in any ways that everybody deserves and respect in the city and anywhere else.
I'm glad you're speaking out. I mean, we spoke to Nadisha, the woman who filmed it and was in the car, and the fact that her 8-year-old daughter was there with her.
It must have been terrible.
Yeah, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Montreal Mayor Valerie Plante, thank you so much. We appreciate the time again, as always.
My pleasure.